great example, and it's subtle, but it's a really unique finish. Okay, and this is done with a Madeira Cotona, which is a thicker thread, and this really makes the wave stitch pop. Okay, so let's go ahead and set our machine up for that. So we're going to start over here, and we need to make sure that our wave selector is set on wave. All right, let's double check our stitch selector, and it needs to be on B. Our differential feed is on N. Our stitch length is, you can have 0.75 or up to 2.5. That's just kind of a suggestion. I would suggest for starting, let's start with 2.5. And then let's go ahead and look at our width. The suggestion is 3.0 to 5.0. And this is a great opportunity. I haven't mentioned it before, but what are the differences between the larger number and the smaller number? And these are both measurements in millimeters. The smaller one is the width. It's the distance between your cutting blade and your right needle. So the smaller needle is the distance between your blade and your right needle. The larger one is the distance between the blade and the left needle. So kind of interesting. So let's go ahead and switch that up to, let's go to 4.5, right in the middle ground. All right, our needle needs to be in the right position. And we went ahead and switched that over already. Okay, and because we were doing the flat lock, let's go ahead and remove that lower looper thread. And we can actually remove that spool completely. Let's take that thread out. Make sure your foot is up. And we are going to do this stitch with decorative thread. So let's remove these two spools here, your upper looper and your right needle thread. Remove your spool holders. Let's get those foam discs on there. Your decorative thread. Before we start threading, make sure to move that subsidiary looper that we had just used on the flat lock. Okay, and as I discussed before, this is a decorative thread, so it's a little bit thicker, so we need to use an alternate way of threading, and we're going to use that wire looper threader to thread the decorative thread. This is used to pull the decorative thread through your loopers. So switch your machine over to threading. And my loopers have already locked. If yours haven't locked, make sure to turn your hand wheel towards you until they do. This first thread here is going to go through your lower looper, but it has a special threading up here. So you're actually going to come in front of the thread guide. Okay, and then you're going to come over to this thread guide. Right, from right to left. Come on down. We'll get some thread. A good amount of thread, pull a good amount of thread through. And we're going to place the wire into that lower looper tube. Okay, just push that through until you see it come out of your lower looper tube over here. Place at most about 1 inch of thread into the loop on the end of your wire. Then we are going to pull it through the rest of the way. It's pretty easy until it's straight right here. Okay, let's take a look at your quick reference threading guide. So we took care of the lower looper, and now we want to do the upper looper. And it is going to follow the thread path of the right needle, and then it'll come down into your upper looper. Okay? So let's bring our thread up. And this is where it will be different. You're going to put it through here. And from here, you're just going to go straight down to the upper looper. All right, so we're going to use our handy little tool here. Take the wire end, place it through your upper looper, and feed it through until you see it come out the upper looper right here. Again, we're going to place 1 inch or less into the loop on the end of the wire. Hold the ends and pull it through. Until it's straight. All right, let's pull both of those threads to the back here. Let's take a look at our guide again. And your needle thread is just going to thread in the left needle all the way down, just as we would normally, except you're threading your right needle. Through the left needle guide. Threading our right needle. We'll switch this over to R. Okay, let's change this back to serging and close our front doors. 2 last things we need to do. Because we were flat locking, we locked the blade down, so we need to engage our blade. And then it's a good idea with the wave stitch when you're using heavier threads, they tend to have a little bounce in them. So let's put your foot down. Go ahead and run your hand wheel towards you a couple of times just to engage those stitches so they don't lock up on each other. All right, that looks great. So now I've chosen a denim fabric, which has a little bit more body, and I just love how the wave stitch looks on thicker fabric. So let's stitch it out. Look how pretty this turned out. And if you'll notice, a lot of the stitches, my stitches are basically stacked on top of each other. And this has everything to do, your stitch length has everything to do with the thickness of your thread. So that's why we recommended to start higher at 2.5 and then work your way down if you want them closer together. So to show you a comparison, when you look at this wave thread that we had showed you earlier, you'll notice that there's a finer thread and it's closer together and the wave isn't quite as long. So there's a lot of different threads that you can play with, and we just recommend that you start with a longer stitch length and work your way in. So get creative and have fun with it.